Imagine you've been saving up for months. You stayed up late fighting for tickets back in April. You've already bought your purple outfit. You've been counting down the days. And then suddenly, without warning, the government says the concert might not happen after all. That's exactly what thousands of ARMY in Chile went through this week. This isn't a scripted drama. It's not staged. It's a real event that pushed thousands of fans to take to the streets, marching all the way to the presidential palace to try to save a concert they had been waiting for since the start of the year. And here's the part that gives you chills. This wasn't a riot. It was a peaceful march, full of singing, full of purple, full of tears that mixed heartbreak with hope. So how did the BTS concert in Chile end up on the brink of cancellation? Who's responsible? And did ARMY's fight actually pay off? Stick around, because the story is more complicated and more moving than you might think. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because we cover the hottest entertainment and K-pop news every single day. In this video, we're breaking down a huge story that's been making headlines across international media, from Korea Herald to the Spanish news agency EFE. The peaceful mass action by thousands of Chilean ARMY, marching to save the BTS World Tour Arirang shows. Let's dive right in. So here's how it all started. BTS is currently on a massive world tour called Arirang, their first world tour since all the members completed their mandatory military service. This is a moment fans everywhere have been waiting for, not just in Korea, but around the globe, including Latin America. One of the lucky cities on this tour's route was Santiago, the capital of Chile. The plan was for BTS to perform 3 consecutive nights at Estadio Nacional Julio Martínez Pradanos, Chile's national stadium, on October 14th, 16th, and 17th, 2026. Tickets went on sale back in April through Ticketmaster and Live Nation. And as always with BTS Ticket Wars, it was a battlefield of its own. Thousands of ARMY fought for seats, and within a short time, all 3 nights sold out completely. In fact, demand was so high that the October 14th date was added later, after the 2 original dates sold out within minutes. Everything looked perfect. The local promoter, DG Medios, had sold the tickets. ARMY had their tickets in hand, and all that was left was counting down the days. But early this July, the bombshell hit. Chile's National Sports Institute, known as IND, under the Ministry of Sports, suddenly announced that they were refusing to grant permission to use the main field of the stadium for the BTS concert. The reason? It wasn't about audience safety or venue capacity. It was about the technical design of the stage. BTS's stage concept for the Arirang tour uses a 360-degree format, where the stage sits right in the middle of the field so fans from every direction get an equal view of the show. It's visually stunning, but it comes with major technical consequences. Chile's Minister of Sports, Natalia Duco, explained that a stage structure like this is estimated to weigh around 600 tons, positioned directly in the center of the grass field. The government was concerned that this much weight could damage the field's surface, especially since the stadium is also booked for a packed schedule of national sporting events, including matches for Chile's national team, league competitions involving Universidad de Chile, and the annual Teletón 2026 charity event. On top of that, building a stage like this reportedly takes around 9 days. Picture it. 9 days with a massive several hundred-ton steel structure occupying the field. What made ARMY even angrier was that the government also reprimanded the promoter, DG Medios, for selling tickets before securing official permission to use the stadium. In other words, thousands of people had already spent their money on tickets for a concert whose venue permit wasn't even finalized yet. So who's really at fault here? The promoter who rushed to sell tickets? Or the government that only spoke up after the tickets had already sold out? Whatever the case, the ones caught in the middle of this mess were the fans. ARMY who had saved up, bought their tickets, and were suddenly facing total uncertainty. Once this news broke, Chilean social media exploded. You can imagine how it felt, right? You've waited years to see BTS perform again after their military service. You fought through the ticket war. You already arranged time off work or school for that date. And suddenly it's all at risk of falling apart because of paperwork and stage engineering issues. That frustration wasn't just about missing a concert. It was about a promise being put on hold. The government itself had already clarified that this wasn't a permanent cancellation, just a temporary halt while they searched for a solution. But for Army, this kind of uncertainty was almost worse than a definitive bad answer. Because think about it, as of when this story broke, no official replacement venue had been announced, and each night of the concert was expected to draw more than 48,000 attendees. That's not a small number. Finding an alternative venue with that kind of capacity in Santiago, or even in nearby cities like Vina del Mar and Concepcion, turned out to be far from simple. And out of that collective frustration came a movement that ended up capturing international media attention. Sunday, July 5th, 2026. A day that will be remembered by the Army community across Latin America. Thousands of BTS fans gathered in downtown Santiago. But this wasn't a random, chaotic crowd. It was a well-organized march, full of color, and most importantly, entirely peaceful. Picture the scene. The streets were flooded with purple, the iconic color associated with BTS and the Army community worldwide. Participants showed up dressed head to toe in purple, many carrying purple balloons floating above the crowd, and almost everyone held up signs with different messages. Some of the most eye-catching banners read BTS al Nacional, meaning roughly BTS to the National Stadium, while others carried messages in Spanish translating to something like music and art don't damage stadiums. There were also signs in English reading BTS to the National Stadium, a message meant to reach international media covering the event. The crowd then began a long march, walking through Santiago's main streets toward a deeply symbolic destination, La Moneda Palace, the seat of Chile's presidential government. And here's what made this moment so emotional. The crowd didn't just walk silently holding signs. They sang. BTS hit songs echoed through the streets of Santiago, turning what started as a protest into something closer to an impromptu street concert. Just imagine the atmosphere. Thousands of voices singing the same songs, united by a single purpose, saving a moment they had waited years for. One participant, interviewed by the Spanish news agency EFE, expressed just how frustrated and heartbroken she felt, saying it was hard to accept the possibility of losing the chance to see the artist she loves perform live. A statement that simple actually spoke for thousands of others who showed up that day. This wasn't just about a concert. It was about a promise made to fans that now felt at risk of being broken through no fault of their own. What's remarkable is that despite the emotional weight and the frustration in the air, the march stayed orderly from start to finish. There were no reports of unrest, no clashes with authorities. Instead, this action became a striking example of how a fandom can voice its concerns in a way that's elegant, creative, and still fully respectful of the law. This isn't the first time Army has shown remarkable unity as a fan community. But watching them physically march through the streets, at this scale, to fight for the right to attend a concert they'd already paid for, that's a whole new level of fandom power. Naturally, a peaceful action of this scale couldn't be ignored by the government, especially once coverage of the march spread to major Korean media outlets, including Korea Herald, a publication based in BTS's home country. Chile's Minister of Sports, Natalia Duco, once again addressed the wave of protests. She reaffirmed that the decision to temporarily halt the stadium permit did not mean the concert was permanently canceled. Duco explained that her office was still exploring options to keep the concert on track, including the possibility of using alternative space within the broader Parque Estadio Nacional complex, not just the main field. She also stressed an important point. This issue was purely about technical facility permits, not a rejection of BTS as a cultural phenomenon or of its fan base. This distinction mattered because wild speculation had already started spreading online suggesting there might be other motives behind the refusal, beyond just stage engineering concerns. Authorities also stated they were willing to reconsider the use of Estadio Nacional if the promoter, DG Medios, submitted a new proposal that could guarantee protection for the stadium's field. In other words, the ball was now in the promoter's court to come up with a technical solution acceptable to both sides. And here's the encouraging part. On that very same day the peaceful march took place, the Chilean government released a statement saying that a new proposal submitted by the local planning authority met the applicable regulations and could ensure proper use of the stadium. Think about that timing for a second. On the same day thousands of army marched through the streets, the Chilean government sent out a positive signal. Coincidence? or real proof that the collective voice of a united fan community was actually heard by the authorities. For many ARMY, this felt like tangible evidence that a fandom's collective voice really can influence decisions, even decisions made at the level of a national government. It's worth understanding why this particular concert carries so much weight, enough to spark an action of this magnitude. First, this is part of BTS's first world tour since all the members completed their military service. For anyone unfamiliar, every member of this South Korean boy group went through an extended hiatus due to national military obligations. So the Arirang tour isn't just any tour. It's essentially a massive comeback, a long-awaited reunion on stage that millions of fans worldwide have been anticipating for years. Second, Latin America is known as one of the most passionate and solid BTS fan bases in the world. When a massive world tour like this includes Chile on its route, it becomes a source of pride not just for Chilean ARMY, but for the entire Latin American fan community. Third, the economic scale here is significant. With 3 concert nights, each expected to draw more than 48,000 attendees. This ranks among the largest entertainment events ever held in Chile. It's not just about ARMY showing up to watch. It's also about the ripple effect on hotels, transportation, local food businesses, and Santiago's tourism sector as a whole. So it's safe to say, the uncertainty around this concert wasn't just a personal issue for ARMY who had already bought tickets. It became a matter of national attention, tied to Chile's reputation as a host for major international entertainment events. There's one thing I think is really worth highlighting from this whole event: the way Chilean ARMY chose to express their frustration. There was no rioting, no violence. What they did was walk together, sing together, carry signs with clear and direct messages, and take their appeal straight to the seat of national power, all while staying peaceful and creative. This stands as real proof that a fan community, no matter how deep their frustration runs, can still channel it through constructive means. And the result? Their voice was genuinely heard. The government responded, even releasing a positive signal about a new proposal on the very same day as the march, one that could still save the concert schedule. It's also a reminder that behind all the hype and glamour of K-pop, there's a real community of human beings with real hopes, real disappointments, and a real fight on their hands. ARMY isn't just a crowd screaming in front of a stage. It's an organized, tightly knit community with a collective strength that shouldn't be underestimated, not even by a national government. So what happens next? As of this video, there's still no final announcement about the exact venue for the 3 BTS concerts in Chile. What we do know is that the government has opened the door to considering alternative space within the Parque Estadio Nacional complex, beyond just the main stadium field. The promoter, DG Medios, has already submitted a new proposal that authorities say meets the applicable technical regulations. However, neither the promoter nor BTS's own agency, Big Hit Music, has released an official statement detailing any venue changes or stage design adjustments so far. So ARMY in Chile, and around the world following this story, still need to wait a bit longer for official confirmation. What's clear is that with this level of public pressure, combined with continued attention from international media, a final solution is likely to be announced fairly soon. We'll just have to wait and see whether the 3 concert nights in October will actually go ahead as originally scheduled, or whether there will be adjustments to the dates and location. So that's the full story of how thousands of Chilean ARMY took to the streets, not to cause chaos, but to fight for something they believed in: the chance to see their idols perform live after years of waiting. What we can take away from this is the power of a united community, one that voices its concerns peacefully and passionately, and how that can genuinely make a difference, even moving the decisions of an entire national government. What do you all think? Should the Chilean government have been more transparent about the stadium permit before tickets went on sale? Or should the promoter have been more careful before opening ticket sales in the first place? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy this kind of K-pop and entertainment news coverage, hit that like button, share it with your fellow ARMY, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates on how this BTS concert drama in Chile unfolds. See you in the next video. Stay strong, ARMY, wherever you are, and hopefully, that concert really does get saved.